Okay, I just clicked record. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Just go over a few announcements and I'm going to hand it over to Karli, which I'm so freaking excited for tonight. So welcome you guys. Happy Tuesday. Danielle and Jamie and I and Michaela, we just came from leadership as well as Karli actually. And you guys, like, literally want every single one of you guys there next year. It was such a cool experience. If you guys don't know, so this conference was held for 5 stars and above. So basically we got to be surrounded by some of the top leaders in the entire company. And I don't know, there's something about being surrounded in the same room about other women and men who have a vision that just blows you away. And it makes you dream big and it makes you feel okay with like reaching for the stars, which sounds cheesy, but like to be surrounded by that, by 6-figure earners and 10 stars and 15 stars. I'm sure Mac and Danielle can attest to this, but it was just a really cool weekend. Not to mention we got to take photos with the Moala, which, you know, you can't complain about. But really, really quick. So something that Carl said that Jamie wanted me to just go over really quickly. So he spoke to us to kind of close out the whole thing. But he talked about 10xing everything you're doing right now for the last few months of this year. And I know we say that all the time, you guys, but if you're serious about this biz, which I know you guys are because you're the one on the call tonight, but this is when you really start to rock and roll for 2020. And as we know, it takes a few months, it takes a few weeks for you to really start to develop connections with your followers. And so if you start doing that right now, come January, you guys are going to have just like a slew of customers and clients who are going to get ready to crush 2020 versus if we kind of relax right now and we let like the holidays get the best of us, it's going to be pretty tough to start strong next year. So reflect on what you're doing now. See if you can double it. See if you can triple it. Not necessarily work harder, but work a little smarter, right? Like how many connections you are making, how intentional you are about your stories every day, your workouts, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to crush the last few months here. But last little announcement, we have our Diamond Retreat coming up in just a couple of weeks, which we're so excited for. If you guys are curious on any retreats or conferences, ask your coach about Summit, ask your coach about NLC. There are so many opportunities for you guys to travel. Super Saturday, which should be at a city near you guys within just a couple hours away. So just be on the lookout for those events. But without further ado, I just want to introduce our guest speaker tonight, Karli. I think this is the most excited I've been for a guest, just because we grew up in the same area. We got to chat a couple hours this weekend, but I've actually been following Karli for a couple years now, and I've kind of seen her transform her following in her business, which has literally skyrocketed, which is so cool to see. But she was and still is a yoga instructor. She's been coaching for 3.5 years. She is 10-star in her first CVC, 2-star in her second, and diamond in her third. So just think about that. That's freaking crazy and that's amazing. She's a 6-figure earner. She's Success Club 10 All-Star, meaning every single month she has helped at least 5 people, which I love because that's consistent. She's consistently bringing in new. Number 30 in the network. I feel like I could go on and on, just had the most gorgeous wedding. But without further ado, just want her to feel welcomed. She's going to speak on Instagram tonight. And last thing I want to add to that is notice her page if you all go to it tonight at some point. She can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure she grew organically without any outside help or bots, which I love because she has tens of thousands of followers, but they're engaged. And I love that because I think that's the most important thing is it doesn't necessarily matter the number. It matters how engaged they are and how much they care about you and your brand. And so I just really respect that she has grown it that way. So without further ado, go ahead and take it away.
All right, so excited to be here. How are you guys doing? Thanks for the awesome introduction, Mallory. I really appreciate it. It was so fun getting to know you this weekend. And yeah, if you guys are in the Seattle area, come to Super Saturday because I'll be speaking and I'll be nervous. But I'm really excited to talk to you guys about Instagram and also like storytelling within Instagram and really how to captivate your audience so that you can attract people who are like you. I am so proud of like the team that I have and the leaders that I have on my team because like they are like me. Like 3 out of my 8 bridesmaids in my wedding are coaches on my team. Like we are best friends and they are like they're my best friends. And, you know, I was taught that when I first started. You were like my coach told me, like, find coaches who you want to be your best friends. And you won't attract people who you want to be best friends with unless you get really, really intentional about sharing your story and your truths and what you're passionate about, and not becoming that typical like beach body coach. So I'm just going to dive right into it. I'm going to share my screen because I have a presentation, and obviously storytelling is like very visual. And then I can like afterwards, if you guys like have specific questions, I can definitely dive into those as well. So own your story and build your team. You guys can all see my screen. Just thumbs up. Yeah. Cool. So we're going to start off actually with a little video. I think this video is really powerful. It's like 3 minutes, and then I'll dive into my content. You guys can hear it.
How's it going?
You know what? I'm having a really bad day.
What happened?
See, what Val's saying when she says, what happened is, tell me a story. And that's actually what this season of Pixar in a Box is all about. To make a movie here at Pixar takes years, but it all starts with a story. Humans have been telling stories since we could speak, probably even before. We tell stories around the campfire. We write plays. We write novels, short stories. We make movies. We take photographs, tweet to each other. The list goes on. The power of story is that it has an ability to connect on an emotional level. One of the things you hear all the time, this advice, is write what you know. Now, as a kid, I was like, I don't want to write about suburban Minnesota. That's boring. I want to write about explosions and monsters and car chases. Well, what that actually means is, yeah, go ahead about monsters, explosions, and car chases, but put something into it that talked about your own life, how you feel. Do you feel scared? Do you feel alone? Something from your own life will make that story come alive and not just be a boring car chase. When I started directing Monsters Incorporated, the way I'd pitch it is, it's about a monster who scares kids for a living. What's his job? He clocks in, he clocks out, he eats donuts, and talks about union dues. And we thought that was a pretty funny idea. And sure enough, when I would tell it to people, they would smile. But when we told the story as a film, people started getting bored and restless. And they're like, I don't understand what this movie's about. Well, what I finally figured out was that it's actually not about a monster who scares kids. It's about man becoming a father. That was what was happening to me. So why write about what you know? Well, it's because probably what happened to you made you feel some particular way. And what you're trying to do really when you tell a story is to get the audience to have that same feeling. One of the big revelations for me telling stories is how much work they are, really. I always thought you just tell the story once and it would be perfect, and geniuses like Walt Disney or Miyazaki, this brilliant filmmaker had once a narrative. Well, the truth is, our stories don't always come out exactly perfectly the first time, or the second time, or the third time, or the fourth time, up to the 30th time. And so you keep going again and again and again. And only after retelling the story many, many times does it really sparkle. This season of Pixar in a Box is about how we at Pixar tell our stories, in hopes that it will inspire you to tell yours.
Seriously.
Okay. So obviously, like, our stories as coaches is our story of our fitness journey, right? Like our story of falling in love with, like, you know, Chickology, or maybe it's like for you, it's losing weight, or for me, it's like, you know, going from skinny to strong. And I think so often, like, yes, that is the core main purpose of why we show up on social media, is to help people and to share that story. But we don't want to be just like these boring Beachbody robots where we're like, I'm working out and drinking my shake and I love my life, right? So the idea behind just like that clip in general is really the fact that, like, you know, you're trying to convey really your story and how you can convey like what you're really passionate about, along with the core values and kind of like goals that you have as a coach, right? So why tell a story? Well, first off, Beachbody is a relationship business, you guys. People are attracted to stories not the products, right? So you're sharing your story, you're not selling your shake, right? You're sharing your story, you're not selling your workouts, right? You're talking about your story with, you know, these supplements, or your story with these at-home workouts that have changed your life. So really starting to ask yourself and dive into like, how much of your story are you really telling? Or are you just doing what your upline coach is telling you to do, checking off the boxes, doing your business activity tracker, and then forgetting about like all the other things that really make you who you are, right? And I think so often we try to like stray away from like our mess, and we try to just be these perfect Beachbody coaches, and it's like, you know, your ness of who you are makes you relatable to your followers, and that is really your message, and that's what you really have to dive into and get real with as you start to share that story on your social media platforms. And then above all else, like sharing your story adds value to people. Sharing your story convinces them that like, not only should they be working out, but why should they be working out? Or why should they be supplementing? Or why should they need this accountability group of people? And I'll dive into that on the next slide. So examples of our story, different stories. Some of you guys might recognize these coaches, some of you guys might not recognize these coaches. But again, I'm not telling their names. All I'm talking about is their stories, and I'm talking about their brands. So this coach, you guys might know who she is, but her story is she's a server and a hairstylist, or hairstylist life. She's a hairstylist turned coach. She worked crazy hours until she leveled up and tried something new and outside her comfort zone. She's an introvert. She doesn't know a lot about health and fitness, and she talks about the fact that she doesn't know a lot about health and fitness. We're not like, don't pretend to be a personal trainer if you're not a personal trainer, right? And she just knows that this shit works, and that she's on a mission to help others find a life of freedom. Another one of her, so that's kind of her story. And then her brands, what she really kind of conveys and like shares a lot about on her social media is she's a dog mom, she's a wife, she has pink hair, obviously, and kind of funky fashion. She talks about a ton that she's an introvert. She does like scary things that she, you know, normally as an introvert wouldn't have ever like thought of herself doing. She talks about how she hates salads and vegetables and hates working out, but you know, these really quick and efficient workouts have served her life and served her the fact that like, you know, she hates salads, Shakeology helps with that. And the fifth thing is she's like, her humor is a really big brand on her platform. She's weird, and she always talks about the fact that she loves to party. Like, we all know that she loves pizza and she loves tequila, and she talks about it all the freaking time. Another coach, this is actually one of my PS coaches, Leanna. Her story is she's a burnt out music student turned coach. She's also a yogi. She lives in an RV. She's newlywed to her husband. She's a dog mom. She's a self-love advocate and a foodie. She's creative in the kitchen, and she's a coffee addict. And she talks about her life on the road with her husband that's a musician full time. Her brands are hippie, yogi. She's a dog mom, self-love advocate. And then again, musician on the road life with her husband. So those are really the brands that she talks about a ton. I love sharing Sammy's story because, again, people, I think a lot of the times are like, well, I'm not a newlywed and I haven't bought a house and I'm not, you know, doing all these crazy fun things. You know, I don't have any brands. Okay, you guys, like, if you know Sammy, she lives with her fiance who is in optometry school, and she doesn't have any friends in the town that she just moved to because they're only going to be here for 2 months. She is a full-time stay-at-home coach, and she has a dog. Like, she has no, like, even like friends in her realm. So like, if you guys think that like your life is boring, like, there's so many things that you can captivate on. You just have to get really, really specific about what those brands are and what you can share. So Sammy's story, she was a dental student with a side gig for fitness, but obsessed about calories. She pursued a master's in health and science, only to switch to pursue coaching full time. She loves Disney and Harry Potter, and she always talks about battling her anxiety every day by putting her health first. Some of her brands include she's a dog mom. She talks about Pongo, her Dalmatian, all the time. She's engaged in planning a wedding. She's a bookworm, and she always talks about the fact that she's a tomboy, so she's like not into fashion, and she always asks for help with fashion in her pictures. Here's mine. So my story: overworked yoga teacher, fitness enthusiast that loved health and wellness but didn't know how to apply it. I always talk about going from skinny to strong and found confidence along the way. My brands are yoga, newlywed life, fashion, long hair, adventure, Pacific Northwest traveling. I really like tough love and just being upfront with people. And another brand of mine is boho decor and home renovations. Now, obviously, your guys' brands can change as you change. That's what's so cool about this job is we share our life and our brands totally change. A huge brand of mine used to be Tiny Home Living because I used to live in a tiny home. That brand completely got like wiped away and stripped from me when we bought a house and moved into this house. So your brands aren't set in stone, but the things that really make you who you are should be prominent, should be prominent things that live on your feed. Now, with all of those things, did I talk about coaching in any of those brands? Like when I listed out those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many brands for each picture that I shared about that coach, I didn't share about Beachbody Coach being a brand. I didn't share about like portion control containers or workouts or Shakeology in any of those things at all. So I just want you guys to realize like there's so much more to like our story outside of just being a coach, right? So you should be able to convey a life of health and wellness and committing to your workouts without being like, I am a coach, or this is like what I do, or I'm a part of Beachbody, whatever. We really want to focus on curiosity marketing. So this kind of circles back to the idea of passive versus personal posting, really what I shared at the beginning before I shared those examples. So a passive post would be, I'm doing my workout, and then you post. Or like day 1 of 21, sweaty selfie, like that's a passive post, right? Okay, no one cares. No one cares that you worked out, and no one cares that you're sweaty. But if you share the connection of the workout to why you chose to work out and why you're choosing to eat healthy, that's what really can captivate people and really make people interested in your story as to why you're choosing to work out or why you're choosing to drink your shake, right? So passive is workout, drink my shake, working on my coaching business, bye. Like that's so boring. It makes me want to gouge my eyes out, right? Like I don't care that you're working out and drinking your Shakeology and working on your coaching business. Like that has nothing to do with me, and I'm probably going to unfollow you, right? Versus a personal post would be, I work out because it strengthens my yoga practice. It helps me hike further. Ski season is just around the corner. I want to set an example for my family. It makes me think clear and stay focused. Okay, that would be a reason. Like obviously, I don't know if I would list all of those things at once, but I would share my workout and then I would talk about why, right? I would share my workout and then I would talk about, something that happened in my workout, or I have examples on the next slide, but same thing. I see like my new coaches doing this, like working on my coaching business. And then it's just like the end of the caption. And I'm like, nobody cares, right? Working on my coaching business, that's a very passive caption, right? Versus a personal caption is talking about like why you're working on your coaching business. What is your vision for coaching, right? Why are you spending time filling out this random like business activity tracker showing up on social media? You can talk about the fact for me, these were my whys. These might not be your whys, but it gives me the freedom to travel. It helped me become financially stable, provide for my family. I don't have to answer to a boss. I get to work with people I like. I have time to take yoga classes all on my own. I can sign up and afford yoga teacher trainings, and then being home with my dog someday. Well, that's a reality now because I have 2 dogs and they bark a lot. Hopefully they won't bark during this call. But do you guys understand kind of like the difference between like those passive and personal postings, and understanding that like it's so important to connect your audience not only to like I'm doing my workout, but why am I doing my workout, right? Or like I'm pushing for a goal in my business, or like why are you pushing for that goal in your business, right? Because nobody like really cares if you hit diamond, right? But why do you want to hit diamond, or why do you want to hit emerald, or why do you want to help 3 people get started on their fitness journey? So just making sure that you're connecting those things all the time. And then making sure that like personal posting needs to include sharing value. So instead of being like, I got up early and did my workout, it's like sharing some value inside those captions is really, really helpful. So for example, instead of talking about, I got up early and I did my workout. I got up early, I did my workout. One of the tips for me that really helps me get up early is setting my alarm clock across the room. So I have to get out of bed to manually turn off the snooze. That's something I still do to this day. But adding in just like a little piece of value can be so incremental for people to actually want to like connect with you and like talk to you about like that post that you just shared, right? If you're sharing your meal prep, don't just say like meal prep Sunday. exclamation point, like talk about like the types of Tupperware you used or these really cool meal prep containers that you just scored from Costco and tag Costco in it, you know, really, really simple things, right? If you're talking about a workout, maybe tag like a workout brand that you use and talk about why you love them. If you're working out at home and you're sharing, you know, a clip of your workout at home, maybe give a couple tips on how to organize an at-home gym or what weights are you using or where you found them. I did a story a couple weeks ago about the fact that I found my adjustable weights for $75 on Facebook Marketplace. And I started a ton of conversations with people who were like, oh my gosh, like I never thought of like, you know, searching for used weights. Like I always thought weights were so expensive, but used ones like on Craigslist, that's so smart. If you're talking about your Shakeology, like this one here, instead of just being like, you know, got my shake, like talk about how it curbs your sweet tooth. I used to be a Ben & Jerry's addict. Like that used to be my freaking jam in college. So I always talk about how Shakeology curbs my sweet tooth and why it's helpful and how I can replace those empty calories with a nutrient-dense food. Let's see, and then again, another one, and I'm not saying that you guys like do these like stupid captions of like, got my PD in, but like really trying to connect with like, you know, you're reading your personal development and then sharing a takeaway from your personal development. Like that's such an easy, an easy like caption to create, right? If we're diving into personal development every single day, like there should be really, really easy things to share from what you're learning. All right, so here's an example of your story in a day and how basically everything can be an invite while still sticking to your brands and not just sharing sweaty selfie Shakeology, sweaty selfie Shakeology, sweaty selfie Shakeology, right? I'm really, really intentional about captivating my story inside like the vital behaviors and like inviting and making sure that I'm talking about what I'm doing every day. So this one obviously is like a picture of my family. I didn't just do a picture of myself. I included my mom and my dad in it. And I talked about, you know, how my family is a prominent brand of mine, but how I got them to do, you know, a 20-minute workout with me in my parents' garage. Another brand of mine is a coffee addict. And instead of just posting a picture of my coffee mug in the background, we were doing like a coffee chat with my team. So I connected with them not only on my brand as coffee, but obviously like my coaching business and talking to these women on a Saturday morning and how it fills my cup. This one I talked about how I got my workout in like a super, super small space, and I made sure that you could see my little workout space behind the picture. This is back when I was living in the tiny home. But I talked about how, you know, if you have room to roll out a yoga mat, you have room, you know, to do these workouts. This one I talked about not only the fact that I got my workout in, but why am I working out? Well, one of my brands is travel and fitness and skiing. I love being outdoors, and ski season is just around the corner. So I talked about the fact that yes, I was, you know, got my day 3 out of 80 or whatever workout in, but also I dove into why am I committing to these workouts every day, right? I'm committing to these workouts every day so I can show up on the ski hill and school like my entire family, including Kev, and be faster than anybody, right? And so like, or like maybe just like being like safer on the ski hill, right? If you're a mom, talking about your workout, and then also the fact that like you're working out so you can keep up with your kids, so you never have to sit on the sidelines and be out of breath. Like you can be on the playground with them running around. So connecting those points of like, again, doing my workout, but like, why are you doing your workout and how can it connect again to your brands? Another one for me, again, this is a pet peeve of mine. Working my coaching business at the coffee shop. Okay, like that's super awesome. I'm happy for you. But in this post, I shared I'm heading to a coffee shop to work on my coaching business. You can't actually see it in this picture, but I was wearing Danskos. I don't know if anybody knows what Danskos are. They're like those clogs that like a lot of nurses wear. Does anybody know what Danskos are? Okay. Anyways, so I tagged Free People because I was wearing a Free People shirt. I was wearing like some like ripped up like Levi jeans or whatever, and then I talked about the fact that like are Danskos like still like I think I asked a question. I was like, are Danskos like still a thing? Like, are people still allowed to wear those? Like, I used to wear these when I was working retail at Starbucks and at the bar. And then again, that's kind of like a breadcrumb of like, I used to work retail. I used to be, you know, a barista at Starbucks, another kind of coaching breadcrumb. But I circled it all back to like my brand of fashion and just starting a conversation with people. This post was like one of my most successful posts ever because it was so relatable. People were like, hell yeah, I love Danskos. Like I used to wear those all the time when I used to work at a bar or whatever. And again, it was just another connection point. And think of like, if I didn't dive into like my outfit and like the things that I was wearing and like the Danskos and asking a question, I probably wouldn't have gotten any comments on that post, right? I would have just been like heading to the coffee shop, you know? So making sure that you're, you know, sharing those like breadcrumbs about coaching and then pairing it with, you know, some things that, again, circle back to your brand and who you really are as a coach. Some other tips I really just like to kind of like tap into is just remembering that like your social media is your storefront. So whatever you convey, like that's what you're going to attract, right? Please, please, please don't be boring. You can see up here, like I really am super intentional about diversifying my feed, diversifying it with like really, like professional photos. Like if you guys haven't gotten professional photos done, like you need to get them done. You don't have to be standing on a rock in front of a waterfall, but like you need professional photos done. It's like the more professional your feed looks, I'm not saying it has to be perfect, but like understanding that like there's marketing that drives like eyes to your page. And then obviously there's marketing that drives like, you know, interest in what you do as a coach. And you really, really need a balance of both. For example, like if you go to my Instagram right now, last night I did a like 5 fun tips about me, and it had nothing to do with coaching, but it really just like it helped with my engagement on my feed, and it wasn't anything to do with like an invite or anything. It was just really like just a high quality photo that my friend took of me, and again, it was like driving traction to my page. Versus today, I was talking about my workout and I was talking about habits, and I was just like adding value to people's page, but I was a little bit more specific on the coaching side. So making sure that you're showing up, knowing what you're sharing, and having a real like plan for it. And then this one is probably one of the most important ones of all. Your captions and words that you're saying like in your photos should match what you're saying in the DMs. I have so many coaches that come to me and they're like, I've sent 100 invites this week and I don't know, nobody's saying anything and no one's responding to me and all these things. And it's like, you guys, if you're not sharing on like the front side of like your Instagram about like how passionate you are about coaching and what your goals are and like how much you love your challenge groups and how much your clients are like, you know, pumping you up and you're just like loving it. If you're not sharing that as like posts that live on your feed, if you're not sharing that and then in your DMs, like you're inviting somebody to a challenge group, but you're like not talking about your challenge groups like on your Instagram feed, like people are going to call bullshit on you. They're going to be like, I don't believe you, or I have no idea what you're talking about. So if you're not talking about coaching and you're inviting to coaching, of course they're not going to respond to you, right? If you're inviting to a challenge group or inviting somebody to get awesome results with you, but you're not sharing transformation photos, I try to share a transformation photo every 6 pictures, every 6 to 9 pictures. And I'm due for one right now. But if you scroll back, I think I've shared like 4 transformation photos in the month of October, and we're not even done with the month yet. But like if you're constantly asking people to transform their lives with you, and you're not sharing transformations of your life or your clients' lives, like there's no reason for them to want to believe you or ever put their trust in you to guide them through a fitness program, right? If fitness isn't a prominent brand on your Instagram and on your pictures, like they're not going to want to work with you on their fitness routine, right? So that your captions and words and what you say with your photos need to match what you're saying in your DMs. And then the third one, obviously kind of circling back to what I already said, is your mess really is your message. You know, if you have a corporate job that is draining you, that, you know, you might be trying to get out of because you want to go full-time coaching, like that's amazing. But like you need to share the fact that you're at a corporate job. Like that's 40 hours plus of a week that you're spending at that job. And if you're not including that in your feed and not talking about that as a part of your story, like that's a very, very real thing that you need to talk about. And it's also so relatable. Like think of how many other people are working corporate jobs and, you know, struggling to like get to the gym after work. You know, I am so much less relatable than a lot of you guys probably are, right? I talk a ton about the fact that I used to balance, you know, teaching 20 to 25 yoga classes, and then I would go to the bar at 5 p.m. and work at the bar and serve pizza and beer until 1 a.m. and I would still be able to get in my workouts. And that was so relatable. People were like, damn, if she can do it, I can do it. So you need to make sure that you're talking about that mess that your life is and the time constraints that you have and the struggles that you're up against, because that's going to give people reasons to believe that like they can do it, because if you can do it, they can do it. But if you're trying to create this curated like pretty little picture of just like all the things that you love about coaching and not really what your life is as a whole, you're going to miss out on being relatable. And like us as coaches, like we're successful because we're relatable, right? We're not successful because we're like these perfect like fitness inspo people with like a bajillion pack abs. Like we're successful because we are on their level and we like are easy, like more easily like approachable because we share our life. So just make sure that you're sharing that mess and owning those brands, right? If you have kids, if you work a corporate job, you know, that you're trying to get out of, or other things in your life that are messy, please make sure that you're sharing those. A couple other questions just to think about, like thinking about like what your actual thoughts about this company was before you started. I think one of my most successful before and after photos was a 21-day transformation of me, but also it was talking about the fact that like I literally started this caption of like, I couldn't believe that I was pressing play on some random DVD in my parents' hallway using water bottles as weights. I had no belief in the fact that a 30-minute program was ever going to work for me because 30 minutes isn't enough, right? Question mark. I talked about the fact that I was skeptical. I talked about the fact that I did not think that this was something that was going to work for me. And that's okay to say. Again, be relatable. Like if you were skeptical, talk about that. Again, I talked about the fact that I thought that I hated home workouts, and I just always try to think back to that person that I used to be. I always think back to that overworked yoga teacher who was like just stressed out, working Monday through Sunday, all different times of the day. I talk about, you know, me used to work at a bar, and I talk about the fact that, you know, I didn't get home till 1 a.m. and then I couldn't even get up early because I hadn't gotten 8 hours of sleep. Like I talk to that person that I used to be, and the farther that person that I used to be, like the farther she is away from me, like it's hard to bring that back up, but it's a pivotal part of my brand, and it's really the audience that I'm speaking to. So, I mean, even today, you can read back on my post that literally I shared like a couple hours ago. I talk about the fact that like when I first became a yoga teacher and what my steps were and how I, you know, the steps I took to be successful. So I'm really always reminding myself to talk to that person that I used to be. Okay, so yeah, so now go talk to people based on the story you've already shared. And then just a couple reminders. If something isn't working, you guys, make sure that you're doing something about it, right? We learn, we do things, and then we tweak it, you know, to serve us better and to serve our story better. So something that I would definitely recommend is the Kendra Hall storytelling training. She's done a TED Talk on it, and she also just wrote a book, and I know Jamie said she knows about it. She was going to encourage you guys all to read it. But if you can really captivate and like just focus on telling your story, coaching becomes so much more fun, and you're not focused on like the number of invites that you get out every single day, because like you're more focused on like the quality of the people and really like the story, like how similar they are to you. Like you guys will be shocked at how similar they are to you if you can really own like who you are and not who you're supposed to be and fit into kind of like that beach body mold, right? And then remember, there's tons of trainings on YouTube. There's tons of trainings on Google. Storytelling is like a super popular thing right now. So you can definitely go on and find a ton of different trainings on there. But that's basically all that I have for you. But if anybody has questions, I can definitely answer.
Jamie, do you want to take it away since you're here? Karli, that was amazing.
That was so good, Karli. That was unbelievable. Thank you so much. Hi, guys. I just want to say hi, but also I loved like every part of this that you just said, but I think a huge part that I noticed from at least our team is that like I feel like everyone is all of a sudden just a health coach, and like the rest of their world is not existent. Like I actually don't know what pretty much anyone does for a living, because I think that that's not talked about. And I know a lot of the coaches that are full-time jobs get worried about is how, like, not being able to talk about their job negatively, obviously, right? That's not what they have to do to like put down their job to talk about coaching. So I was just wondering if you could give some advice, because I know there's only 2 full-time coaches on this team. So the rest of them are working in corporate America. So just some advice on like how you would do that and how you did do that when you were, you know, still full-time teaching and all that.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was working at the bar, you guys, like I would post pictures like in the back room, like holding my color-coded containers, and I would like talk about, you know, how I was like in the back room, like making like smarter nutrition choices and all this kind of stuff. I would never like post like negatively like about the bar. I would talk about more of that kind of like vision stuff inside my team page. And as far as like talking about coaching like in a positive realm, even while like you're still at your full-time job, or like maybe that's not a goal for you, is to like go full-time, is like just talking about how like this can fit into anybody's lifestyle. Like every single coach starts with a part-time opportunity. And so I think just like captivating on that and talking about how like, you know, I was in my car in between yoga classes, and, you know, checked into my team page and, you know, sent a couple client check-ins. Like that's like such like a red flag or like a green light moment for somebody who's following you. Like, whoa, like she's working from her phone. She's utilizing these little minutes. Like I'm a mom. What if I drop my kid off at daycare and I have an extra 5 minutes? Like I always like really focused on like using social media for good. Not that like a yoga studio is bad, but like how can my presence on social media be more positive? How can I spend more time doing things that actually help people instead of like, you know, advertising like yoga pants? Cause I see so many people like freaking trying to like sell yoga pants on Instagram. And I'm like, that's like, why would you want to do that? So like the little things, never like putting, yeah, I don't think that I ever really like put a yoga studio down at all. And I think Jamie was talking about this on her call when she did it for me, is like, I would just connect to people. So like if you have coworkers that are asking questions, just like, hey, like, I'd love to connect with you on Instagram. It doesn't have to be like, oh yeah, like I'm working to become a full-time coach so that I don't have to like be at my job anymore, you know, because everyone starts with the part-time opportunity. Everyone starts with like, you know, just making, you know, $50 a week or whatever. And I mean, that's an awesome thing to be able to do even alongside a full-time job. Does that answer your question? I don't know.
Yeah. And I know Michaela kind of just had this question as well, but I think that it's like, so obviously you're not trying to talk shit about your full-time job, but to say if you're not passionate about the job you're in right now, could it, you know, you can say that it's really nice to be able to come home from the job that you do every day, but also have this passion project on the side. Like I know some of my coaches, I mean, some of them literally are not here for the money, they're here for the fulfillment and the community. And so I think that's a huge thing to talk about too, is like, how good does it feel when you can change someone's life? Maybe you don't do that in your 9-to-5 job. Like maybe this is more passion driven for you. And I think that's where you have to take this. And that's what you should be talking about, because there's people that would kill to do something in their life that's filled with passion, or that like could pay forward to someone else, you know? So if that's where you are in your 9-to-5 job, it's not about ripping it apart or like any of that. Obviously, I think one direction is talking about the vision of where you do want to go, if that's available to you. But if it's not, I think you can just talk about what you do get out of coaching aside from, you know, that you maybe don't get from your other jobs.
And that's where we all start, right? Like none of us start making thousands of dollars a week. Like that's really what you have to capitalize on. And that's what I capitalized on. I would say the first 12 months of my business, right? I wasn't talking about how I was making shit tons of money, because I wasn't, right? And I wasn't like advertising to people like come like coach
full time.
Yeah, exactly. So I really talked about the fact that like this made me feel good. Like I felt like I was making an impact. I felt like I could show up on my social media and really help people. And like that had nothing to do with yoga teaching or the bar, how much I hated those things. It just gave me like this other outlet to serve. And that's why I became a yoga teacher anyways. Or some people become nurses to serve, or some people become teachers to serve. You know, there's all these different avenues. But yeah, I mean, you don't even have to like talk about the money or like leaving your job. I would say the first 12 months, because I mean, yeah, don't talk about the business if that's not like where you're at in it, you know?
Totally. Do you guys have any other questions? I'm also reading what's the book? Story Brand, or How to Build a Story Brand.
The name.
I think that's the one too. And it's really good so far. But I think everything you just talked about, I think what I'm hopefully going to I want everybody to do is like, maybe I'm going to make a post, you know, on Friday or something. And I want everyone to like start thinking from now until Friday of like, what is your brand? What are the 5 or 6 things? Like, what's your little story in a mini clip like she did? I loved how she went through like 4 of those coaches and said like the mini, like, you know, description, and then also like the 5 brands that you have. And I think it's so, I mean, all those coaches, before you even wrote that or said that, I could have said that for you. You know, I could have defined that, because I do know those coaches' brands and they're pretty strong. So I think that's really, really important to develop. And I feel like I'm so happy you got to talk to us, because you're the queen of it. And like, I know your brand so well, even before I met you this weekend. Like, you know, I just know who you are and what you stand for, because you have a really strong brand message. So.
And I think it's just really important to like you guys share your story and where you're at now. Again, back to that, like your mess is your message. Like I get to talk about what I've overcome, because when I first started as a coach, I talked about those things that I was battling. And like, if you're not going to talk about those things that you're battling right now, when you do overcome them, you know, a year, 2 years down the road, like you're not going to have that content to speak on, because you never shared it. Right.
Totally.
So for me, I talk about those things that I overcame, those late nights at the bar, not feeling empowered in my body, not feeling strong, always feeling like I was just like written off as the skinny girl. But like, if I would have never really talked about that beforehand, like you can't share that story or that progression of that journey if you're not open with it now in those building block, like foundational stages of becoming a coach.
Totally. Like I used to work out at 10 o'clock at night, and I actually just got off a call with someone who's going to become a coach. And she was like, I remember what, she's an instructor. And she's like, I remember watching you after your day of, like, I would stress about that and say like, I'm so freaking tired, but I'm going to do this. Like, you guys have to share your life. Or if you're just sharing the Beachbody world, it's like, nobody can understand like where you are on the other aspects of your life, which is a huge part. Right. So I think it's like, look at Mariah right now, getting her team call done and her workout done. Like, that's amazing, and that's just shows you like she's getting it all in right now. And hopefully she's going to share about that, because there's a lot of people who look at probably what you do, and if they don't see the other aspect, they're going to be like, good, like, cool. I don't, that could not fit into my day at all. Or it's easy for her. People who are new to following me think that I have all the time in the world to work out, when I do now, but I didn't when I started. So it's really important to always kind of go back to that, or if that's where you're the season of life that you're in, to talk about that right now. Anyone else have any questions before we let Karli go?
Quick question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know this is a very broad question, but you really grew your following fast. And it's strong and it's engaged. I know this is probably something you could answer for like an hour. But if you had to say just a few tips, whether that's provide value or speaking to your audience, how did you grow it? And do you go out and do you search hashtags, or do you engage a lot with new accounts to have them see you and follow you back? Or what's kind of just like a few things that you did before to get where you are now?
So I post every single day. My goal is 1 to 3 times a day. And I've posted 1 to 3 times a day every single day for the past 3.5 years. And I've never missed a day of posting, except for one day when my dog died, and the other day when I was out hiking and I had a post pre-planned, but for some reason it didn't post and I didn't have any service. So 2 days out of 3.5 years, I have never missed a day of posting on Instagram. So it's not about finding the secret sauce. It's not about finding the secret hashtag. It really is about being consistent. And then obviously like pairing it with like that story. Now, that's what works for me. Don't go blowing up your Instagram and posting 3 times a day. If like your audience doesn't like that, if that's not your brand, then don't do that. I'm just saying like that's what works for me. But yeah, my audience has grown like completely organically. Yeah, I don't go out and like search hashtags or anything. I think, again, kind of like going back to having a marketing strategy, like making sure that you do have like pretty, like beautiful photos that just drive traction to your page. Like I share like so much about my wedding, and like I didn't even want to get engagement photos, but I was like, well, it'll be good for my Instagram, so I guess I'll get engagement photos. Like I literally didn't care. But I was like, all right, Marcy, take pictures of me. Like, this is going to help my algorithms. Let's go. And then I tagged a whole bunch of like wedding photography places and like geotagged the crap out of it. So like, being strategic about like, your following really is your client base. Again, you don't need, like there's an elite coach on our team that just hit elite and she has like 1,800 followers. Like you don't need, a billion and one followers. I think it's so easy to get like obsessed with like,
quality over quantity.
Yeah, quality over quantity. But like literally just like consistency. Again, yeah, sharing your story. I don't really know what else.
Something I've been doing recently, which I got like 20 followers today, because I've been trying to not like, okay, Lululemon, Nike, all those things, all those brands like are amazing, but they're not reposting you, right? They're not like all that stuff. So I've been trying to focus a lot on like smaller brands or smaller little like boutiques. Like I have a boutique in Detroit that I've been like talking to, and I was wearing something that of theirs and in their stories, and they reposted me. And I think 20 of their followers had followed me. So I think that it's like it's better to start kind of targeting these smaller boutiques or like coffee shops or whatever it is, and that's something to think about. Cause today I was like,
I've paired up with like random like jewelry places, and I'll tag them and they'll repost stuff. My bridesmaids dresses were from like this random nomad boutique, and like I tagged them only in hopes of them reposting me, not that I actually cared. Like
totally.
It's just like you have to be in that mentality of like what's gonna help me like further my reach.
Totally. And I love how you like, I feel like you talk on your posts and your feed, like just as if like this kind of conversation. It's very like, you are very just conversational in your posts and your message.
I give myself 5 minutes to write a caption, and if I can't write in 5 minutes, I have to get off of the Instagram app.
Love that. Love that.
I think it's more authentic if you just like let yourself like share your emotions. And I think we can over obsess about it, and like spending an hour on a caption is not going to get you to hit Success Club. So please don't do that.
Totally. Oh, this was so good. Would you share your slides with us? I think everyone wants to kind of go back and like make sure just all that. And I think that as a team, we should all like come together and create our own, like, do this on our own, and then come together and share it. And we can all kind of hold each other accountable and see if like in 2 weeks, if our brand is starting to kind of evolve, like, and we can look at each other's page. And I think it'll just be a really cool way to see if we're all being focused on, this new type of marketing that we're going to be doing.
Totally. And a really easy way, I was going to share this, but just grab out an 8.5 by 11, like blank piece of paper, and take like, again, put on like a 5-minute timer and just like write down everything that makes you you. Like I would say like, for me, like long hair, boho vibes, Toyota Tacoma, because that's the kind of car I drive, Pomeranians, because those are the types of dogs I have, coffee, Starbucks, because I used to work at Starbucks, Eastern Washington, because that's where I live, like all these random things. Again, none of those things have anything to do with fitness, remember? And they're just like all just different things that like make me who I am, and just list it, like literally have like a brain dump of just all of these things that you're really passionate and make you who you are. And then go back to it and like find like the, kind of main like 5, 6, 7 themes. And that can really help you isolate your brand. I think that like, that's what I always have my new coaches do.
I love that. And like your struggles too, or maybe past struggles.
Totally, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that's really good. So let's all like do that together, and then come together and kind of start sharing those. Maybe next week on the call, we'll do that. Because I think this was so helpful. And I feel like this is exactly what we needed. So good. Okay, can we take a quick picture? You guys, I'm literally in my husband's brother's bed right now, like in his 19-year-old bed. Got to take the call from anywhere. And his parents are upstairs. Okay, let's take a quick picture. If you guys can come off or put your video on, we'll do this quickly. Thank you so much, Karli. So much. You literally rocked this, and it was exactly what we needed, like completely. Okay, ready, guys? Count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you guys. And Mallory will post the recording within like 48 hours. I know she's got crazy life going on, so it will be posted, but give her a minute. And also I will hopefully get the slides from Karli, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much, Kar.